Today from lesson 83, we're going to talk about a concept that we're very familiar with, probability. We'll look at a couple different scenarios, just like we've talked about before, and then we'll just see one little new situation that we're going to have from a chart that we have in our textbook. Well, what are we talking about with the study of probability? Probability is just simply based on how many outcomes do you have, and then they have an equal chance of happening in the question. For example, when you flip a coin, well, what could happen when you flip a coin? It's either going to land on heads or it's going to land on tails. Those are the only outcomes that you can have in the question, and either one could happen the same number of times in the question. It's a 50-50 chance. When you're rolling your standard die, like in a game, well, what numbers are on that die? 1 to 6. Well, each of those 6 sides has the same chance. It has the same probability that it's going to show up in your question. What do we have when we're talking about the probability of some kind of event? The event is what you want to happen in the question. What format do we always write our probability answers in? They are written in a fraction. So you just need to write down the fraction that you see at the bottom that we're very familiar with. It's the number of favorable outcomes, which is what you want to happen. It satisfies the requirement of what the question says, over the total number of outcomes that you have in the question, and we refer to that as the sample space. The sample space is all of the options, then you just want a certain section of that. You want the favorable outcomes that you have in the question. So just simple problems that we're very familiar with in the question. Now, even before I get to those, just note here, probability is always going to lie somewhere between 0 and 1, and it says inclusive, which means you can have a 0 and you can have a 1 for the final answer. What does that mean? If you have a probability of 0, it's not going to happen. There's a 0% chance of it happening. What does that mean? If you have a probability of 1, it's definitely going to happen. Like in the Bible, when it says Christ is going to return, well, that is definitely going to happen. That is a 100% chance of it. So that would be a probability of 1 that you have in the question. Most probabilities that we will have, though, will be written in a fraction format, which is why they fall in between 0 and 1 in a question. So just walking through some very simple questions here. When you flip a coin, well, how many ways can a coin land? 2. So if I said, so there's my sample space, that's what could happen, a heads or a tail. If I said, what is the probability of you getting a heads? Well, how many heads are on the coin? Just 1 over a total of 2 sides that you have. 1 over 2, it's a fraction, doesn't reduce, and that would be your final answer. Just another simple example, rolling a single die. A single die, that's like in a game, you get your little number cube, which has the numbers 1 through 6. So the sample space, the total outcomes are the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I said, what is the probability of getting a 5? Well, how many 5s do we have in our number cube? Just 1 out of a total of 6 sides. So my fraction is 1 out of 6. What if I wanted the probability of greater than 4? Well, what numbers are greater than 4, 5, and 6? There's 2 options that are bigger, so the possible outcomes or the favorable outcomes was 2 out of the total of 6. 2 over 6 does reduce this time, and our final answer will be 1 over 3. Now, most of the questions that we're going to walk through here together is going to be dealing with 2 dice that are rolled at the same time, and then the sums that you can get in your question. I have a chart up here on the screen, and you'll find the same chart in your textbook on page 500. So why don't you guys just go ahead and turn to page 500 for me, then you won't have to worry about trying to copy down this chart and using it. You can just use the one that you have in the textbook. So what I did here is I just highlighted the categories, and then in kind of my clear blocks are all of the sums that you can get. So on the first dice, let's say I got a 4. On the second dice, I got a 3. Well, 4 plus 3 gave me the 7. So those are the numbers that we have inside of the block or inside of the chart. What our questions are going to be focusing on here are the different sums that we can get, so the numbers that are on the inside of our question. And I wrote up there in the title, you might want to jot this down as well, there's always 36 total outcomes that you can have inside of this chart, because there was 6 ways the first dice could land, There were 6 ways the second dice could land, so 6 times 6 gave me the possible 36 of the sums that we have inside of our chart there. Right? So if I said 2 fair dice are rolled, that means we're going to focus on the chart. What is the probability that I get a 7? Okay, well, how do I figure that out? Probability is how many ways can this happen, can the event occur, over the total possible ways that the entire situation could happen with my 2 dice being rolled. Well, I look at the chart. How many sums of 7 do I see? There were 6 out of the total 36 different blocks that I have, and 6 over 36 does reduce, and my final answer for this question would be 1 over 6. Okay, next question from the chart. What is the probability of getting a number greater than 8? Well, what numbers are bigger than 8 that are in our chart for the sums? 9, 10, 11, and 12. So how many total 9, 10, 11, and 12s do we see? There are 10 that we have in the chart there. In the chart, I see a total of 4 number 9s. I saw 3 10s, 2 11s, and 1 12. So that's where I got my sum of 10 on the top there, out of, again, the total of 36 different blocks that we have. 10 over 36 does reduce, and then they both divide by 2, and my answer on this probability question would be 5 over 18. And 2 last questions from our chart here, then we'll switch over to something else about probability. What is the probability of getting a sum of 146? Well, if I go ahead and look at the chart, do you see any sums of 146? Well, of course not, because the biggest sum that you can have is 12 from 6 plus 6. So can I get a 146? No. So its probability is 0 out of 36, which is just 0, because 0 divided by a number is 0 in our question. That's the least probability, as we talked about a few minutes ago. This is never going to happen, so it's a 0% chance of happening, or just the number 0. What if I had asked you, what is the probability of getting a number that is less than 146? Well, if you look at the different sums that you have in your chart there, how many of those sums are less than 146? All of them, because the biggest sum that we had was 12, so all of the numbers have to be smaller than that. So the probability of less than 146 would be 36 out of 36, because all 36 blocks have exactly what I need out of the total 36 that we have in the question, and that reduces to 1. Remember, 1 was the greatest or the biggest probability that you could have in the question, because it's definitely going to happen, a 100% chance that I'm going to get a number that is less than 146 for my sums. Okay, so just things dealing with simple probability, the number of ways that what you want can happen, the favorable over the total number of outcomes that you can have in our question. Now, the next thing that we have in our lesson today is dealing with independent events. So what does that mean when things are independent? Okay, so in a little bit, when you guys head off to college, you're going to become a little bit more independent from your parents. What does that mean? You're able to be out by yourself. You're not dependent upon your parents to do everything for you anymore. So independent events can stand by themselves. They can be out on their own. Therefore, they do not affect one another. So if I had 2 different things happening in the question, that's what's going to occur on these independent events. I want one thing to happen, then I want a second thing to happen. Well, whatever happened the first time has no bearing. It has no effect on what I need to do the second time in the question. That's how we're going to finish the lesson today. What if it does affect what happens the second time? So here's just an example. If I flipped a dime and then I flipped a penny, does what I get on the dime affect what I get on the penny? Well, of course not. Just because I get a heads on the dime doesn't mean I can't get a heads on the penny. They're not related to each other. They don't affect each other, so they are considered to be independent events. How do we properly find the probability of independent events? Well, there's multiple things happening in our question, so you're going to do the product. You're going to do a multiplication question. So maybe just jot down the second line there. So we have capital P for probability of A and B. I want both things to happen in the question. If it was or, that's a totally different situation. So A and B. I'm going to take the probability that the first thing happens, then I'm going to multiply by the probability that the second thing happens in our question. So multiple things happening, multiply in your question. When it was an or problem, just to note that here, just for your sake here, when it was an or, then you had to add in the question. But with an and question, multiple things happening, we multiply in our problem. So let's walk through just a couple examples together here. A fair coin is tossed 3 different times. What is the probability that it comes up heads every single time? Well, those are examples of independent events because what I got on the first toss does not affect the second toss, which does not affect the third toss. So there's 3 things happening. So there's 3 different fractions that we're going to be multiplying together on the question. Well, every single time I want to come up with a heads. So what is the probability of getting a heads on a coin? It's 1 out of 2 because one of the sides says heads out of the 2 total sides. So the probability of heads, 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 so there's the triple H for what I want in the question. And here's my 3 fractions. 1 over 2 times 1 over 2 times 1 over 2, which gave me 1 over 8. That fraction doesn't reduce, so that would be my final answer on that question. Okay, now kind of a situation a little bit similar to that. A fair coin is tossed 4 times. It's landed heads every single time. Okay, so that's some information that we already know. We've tossed the coin 4 times. I got heads every single toss. Okay, so far tails doesn't like to show up. What is the probability that it's going to get heads the next toss? Okay, so I'm going to toss the coin again. What's the chance? What is the probability that it's going to land on heads this time? Well, it's just 1/2. What happened on the first 4 tosses does not affect what's going to happen on this toss. It's an example of an independent event. They do not affect each other. Notice I am not multiplying 1/2 5 different times. It did not say what's the probability of me getting the heads every single time. It just said, what's the probability of getting heads on the next toss? So just one situation. So I just have 1 fraction here on the question. Last scenario that we'll look at here today. So that's what I just mentioned. The results of my past tosses do not affect what's going to happen on the next toss in our question. The last scenario that we're going to look at from our lesson today is dealing with replacement. Now, whether I do replace something or whether I don't replace something affects the question. If I did replace something, then everything's back to the original scenario, and those would be called independent events because what I took out the first time would not affect what I took out the second time. But with probability, when it comes to not replacing something, then it does affect, so those would be called dependent events. So the note that I have here, probability is affected by whether I do replace or whether I do not replace the first item that has been selected before I make the second draw or before I make my second selection. If I did put everything back, as I just mentioned, well, everything's back to the original scenario, and that's an independent situation because what happened the first time is not affecting what's happening the second time in our question. But if I don't replace the first item, well, then I have 1 less to choose from. So it does depend on what happened the first time to see what I still have in our question for the second time. Now, the setup is still going to be the same for how we're going to do the probability for these replacement questions. There's still multiple things that you want to happen. Therefore, it's still a multiplication kind of question. All right, so let's work through. I got 3 examples that we'll try together. An urn contains 2 black marbles and 2 white marbles. Okay, if you're wondering what an urn is, just like a little jar. Okay, a marble is drawn at random and then it is replaced. Okay, so that's a key phrase there. It is replaced. Then a second marble is drawn. Okay, so the scenario we're looking at, we're going to reach in, we're going to take a marble, take a look at what it is, we're going to put it back, and then we're going to select another marble. Our question, what is the probability that both of the marbles that we select are going to be black? Now, are these examples of independent or dependent events? This would be an example of independent because the draw the second time is not affected by what happened the first time since I did put the marble back. Well, how many black marbles do we have on this question? There are 2. How many total marbles do we have in the question? There are 4, because there was 2 black and 2 white for a total of 4. So the probability of black and black, that's what I want to happen on this question, is 2 out of 4 times 2 out of 4. 2 black marbles out of the total of 4. Notice both of those fractions are the same because the original situation was true for both of those fractions. Both of the fractions reduces here down to 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 times 1 over 2 gave me 1 over 4. Of course, you could multiply first, then reduce. That would be 4 over 16, and 4 over 16 also reduces down to 1 over 4. Well, same situation here, but this time I am not going to replace. So I still have my 2 black, I have 2 white. I'm going to take a marble out, take a look at it, but then I'm going to set it off to the side before I reach back in and pull out the second marble. So now the same question I'm answering. What is the probability that both of the marbles are going to be black? Well, when I go to reach in the first time, how many total marbles are there? There are 4. How many of them are black? 2. So the probability on the first draw is still 2 out of 4. But I just took the marble out. Now I need to reach back in. So how many black marbles do we now have at this point of the question? There's just 1 because I took one of them already out. So I'm down to 1 in the question. That's what I have in my numerator. In the denominator, notice I now have the number 3. There were 4 original marbles, but I took one of them out. Now I'm down to 3 in the question. Again, I usually like to reduce first. So my 2 over 4, again, reduces to 1/2. So 1/2 times 1/3 gave me 1 over 6 for the final answer. Of course, you can multiply first. That's 2 over 12, and 2 over 12 also reduces down to 1/6. Last question for today. 2 cards are drawn from a 52 card deck without replacement. What is the probability that the first one is red and the second one is black? So notice in this question here, it said without replacement. The card that I take the first time does not go back in. I'm going to set it off to the side. Now, if you're not sure about the cards in the deck that we have, the cards that we have in a deck are only black or red. Well, then the deck is split in half. There's 52 total cards, which means 26 of them are black and 26 of them are red. So if you didn't know that, that will help you here on the question. Well, what probability are we looking at? I want red the first time, then I want black. So what is the probability that I get red on my first draw is 26 over 52. 26 of the cards were red out of the total of 52 cards that we have. Times, what's the second thing I want to happen? There's multiple things happening again, so we're multiplying in our question. Well, the second thing I want to happen is I want to select a black card. Did I take out a black card yet? We did not. So therefore, the numerator is still 26. All 26 black cards are still in there, but there's 1 less total card, so my denominator reduced down there to 51. We can reduce here like we've done in every other question, and when we multiply, we would come up with 13 over 51 for our final solution in the question. So whether I do replace or I don't replace makes a difference on our problem. So probability, we're very familiar with probability, is the chance or the likelihood of something happening, and it's always expressed as a fraction, the number of ways that it can happen over the total options that you have in your question.